Good evening. It's just gone 3 minutes past 7 on a Tuesday, so you all know what that means. It means we're late. It means we're late. I apologise. Been having issues with my Wi-Fi, which Phil has heard me moaning about for the past week and a half. So I was on the phone to
Yep,
Sky trying to get that sorted, and of course they told me everything's fine. So,
of course
so
they did.
yeah,
Did you
all
try
good.
turning it off and turning it back on again? Did you do
I
that?
tried lodge. I tried launching out the window. That didn't
Yeah.
help. But yeah, welcome to the Boise Bus. It's the Tuesday Ticket. This is the show where we talk about all the news, the gossip, and the hearsay regarding Celtic Football Club. Of course, the transfer window has slammed shut, so we're going to have to find other things to gossip about, which I'm sure we'll manage. I'm sure we'll manage. And as usual, I am joined on a Tuesday by my guest host, Phil McGinley, and Regan the Oracle Stevenson. Boys, how are we doing?
Doing good, David. It was absolutely brilliant to be at Celtic Park on Sunday to see so many people again that enjoyed the Tuesday ticket and see Celtic put on a great show again, David. It was brilliant, really good.
I will get talking about that certainly, Phil. I know you were on the post-match piss show,
Yep.
but we can talk a little bit more about it because
Oh, I think the people want to hear more chat about that game. I think they want to hear it for a little while, to be fair. I don't think they'll complain about that one. I think everyone's quite happy to keep talking about that game.
yeah, we'll certainly will. We will certainly talk about that. But before we do all that, we've got all that good stuff to get through. So give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair, buy more hair, all that jazz. You crack on and do whatever you want to do. Become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99 a month. All our content is absolutely free. There is no added extras for doing so. It's just your way of supporting the bus. But it's totally optional. Don't feel like you need to do it, but we appreciate everybody that does and everybody that can, and those that just choose to enjoy us. That's what it's all about. I just enjoy being on here, talking Celtic with my pals, and if it entertains you for an hour, then that's brilliant. So make sure you are hitting that subscribe button so you know when we're coming to talk about the Celtic. And of course, big shout out to piesports.com. You get 12.5% off your tasty pasty treats at the checkout with Bus 1888. Right, that's that done. So where do we want to start? Oh, Regan.
David,
It finally came. Your top finally came.
Ed,
I got a wee email back from, it wasn't Peter himself. I know that only you talked to him, so I didn't get to talk to Peter himself. But I did get told that because it was a bank holiday when I ordered the top, that I couldn't get the next day delivery. I got my $2.99 delivery fee back off them. So, but I'm glad it came, mate. I'm glad you were in when you got it as well. So.
aye, cheers.
And it didn't even fit you. You told me to order the wrong size, and you had to take it back to Celtic Park and throw it in their face and say, "Give me another one." It doesn't fit.
spoke I spoke very nice to one of the staff members, and she changed it for me very well, and she still put other meat on the back, so it was a very ideal day, David.
Yes, I'm glad you got it sorted, mate, because we were both devastated when it turned out that you'd been hitting the gym and your guns were too big and you were squeezing out of that top. It's these Adidas match day fit tops. You've got to squeeze into them now, doesn't it?
I know, David.
I know, but you're looking good, mate. But right, let's get cracking. Let's start with Sunday, Bill. Let's start with Sunday. See, so going into the game, what was your overall feeling before the game? Because for me personally, I can't help but feel nervous, regardless of how well the team's playing, how poorly Rangers are playing, players injured or not injured, the form that they're on. I can't help but feel nervous. But this time around, at no point was I worried. At no point was I worried. I almost felt guilty not even being slightly nervous. And I've got a lot of Rangers supporting clients, and They were all in their droves that week, and every single one of them were like, "You're going to scud us this week. You're going to absolutely batter us." And normally I'd be like, "Nah, well, you know, form goes out the window." But this time around, I was like, "I know, we're going to. I know we are, and I can't wait." And like, I mean, the first 10 minutes, they pressed, they did the high press, they changed it up slightly. They didn't come out the gun out the chaps all guns blazing. They were a wee bit more um, uh, tactical, if you wish, and press as high. But no, even then, in that first 10 minutes, I wasn't worried, Phil. I don't know.
Mm.
You were at the stadium. What was it? The feeling like around the stadium that first 10 minutes was a bit of a, oh, this is a bit different. Their approach is slightly different. Was there worry, anxiety? What was going on?
I was the same as you. Woke up on Sunday morning and I wasn't that phased at all. Like it wasn't even the first thing that was on my mind when I woke up. Genuinely, going into this game, I just felt like, I said on Tuesday night, I thought it would just be like a wee routine, dust them aside 2-0. I know Russell and Liam said that we would absolutely do them, which in the end we did. But I was fully expecting is just to turn up and just brush them aside, little fuss at all. And well, it kind of was that, to say the least. The first 10 minutes, there was a couple of chances. Desser's, wee heart in the mouth moment, where he obviously got through, but just passed it back to Kasper Schmeichel. And Matondo, I mean, he obviously missed that chance as well. Probably the wrong guy in the right place, because I don't think he's very renowned for his heading ability. But the key moment, the turning point after that first sort of 10, 15 minutes where they were having a wee bit of success was the way that we just so easily and so calmly just cut through them with 3 or 4 passes from the back, despite their high press. We kept doing it. And from Schmeichel to like Carter Vickers, Johnson, quick 1, 2, 3 passes, whatever, right to McGregor. And he just pings that pass right into the path of Nicholas Kuhn, who of course squares it. And we score, it gets disallowed. But I think that point really spooked them, where they were like, "Oh Jesus, how quick it is!" And I've said that to my dad even after it got disallowed in the stadium, which didn't surprise me when it came up on the screen. VAR check, you just knew it was coming. I said that to my dad. Next time I says, "That just showed you how easy it is for us, like how quickly we can just break." It was actually terrifying to see in person how, compared to Brendan at the start of last season and the way the team were kind of plodding along. Watching that was like a real eye-opening one. You're like, "Oh God, man, we're capable of that." And of course, when the first goal does come, it's very similar again, very similar move up the park, comes from a similar angle, and I cut across the goal, and Maeda's there this time, to make no mistake. And that was only a few minutes later. Some teams might end up, heads go down after getting a goal disallowed like that, but no, we just didn't let it phase us. And once we got ourselves ahead, it just built and built. The momentum kept going, and they just could not live with us in the end.
Regan, what is it that's changed since the end of last season to the start of this season? What has happened to this group of players? Is it just suddenly what Rodgers has been talking about for the whole last season?
Rodgers.
Is it just finally clicked? Is it just finally clicked? Is it just taking a bit of time for the squad to understand fully what Rodgers wants? He's always said, "Look, I've not asked them to play differently. I've not asked them to play slow. My game is very similar to Ange Postecoglou's, so it shouldn't be, but just a couple of tweaks here and there." Now, when he said that to us last season, we were sitting there going, "Really, really, Rodgers?" Because it looks like you've completely ripped up the Ange Postecoglou style football and went for this totally different style, but arguably, what we saw yesterday and for the whole part of the start of the season, Regan, is I think this Brodge ball, as they're calling it, would blow away Ange Postecoglou's best football that we saw last year. And that might be a big statement, but I think Rodgers has just tweaked, and now that we're seeing it all starting to click in place, I think Rodgers has tweaked it enough to suggest that perhaps this Brendan Rodgers style of football is maybe went up a level to what we were seeing at peak Ange 2 seasons ago.
You could never even say it's better than the very first time that he was here. I think Brendan Rodgers has finally got everything that he wants. Celtic, he's got a very fast paced team, David. He's also got the board that he's exactly where he wants them now as well. Peter Lowell and fair play to the rest of the board as well. They must be spewing that he's spent nearly £13 million in a player. A alone, David, and I'm just really happy that Brendan Rodgers has finally taught the board that you need to. I mean, you spoke about it a few weeks ago that you need to up the wage structure. It's not the payment for the players, the wage structure. So if you're then spending 13 million, then you probably expect to sell that player for 30 million, which then means you can make the wages more impressive for your transfer fees and also for the player as well. So I just think Brendan Rodgers has totally transformed the club.
The going back to what you were saying, Phil, about that the offside goal, I think it showed how clinical we are this season. I mean, what was it? 2-3 passes. I mean, what I loved about it was I said it to my mate today. I was like, that high press that they played. If that was last season, I think they would have capitalised on it, because I think, and I loved Joe Hart. I think Joe Hart is probably arguably his best season last season, but we all know he was very, very nervy when it came to the ball at his feet. When it came back to him, he just would panic. And I think if they had done that last season, they might have got a bit of joy out of it. But because of the addition of Kasper Schmeichel. To be fair, I think Peter could have played yesterday on Sunday. Peter probably could have played on Sunday. But Kasper Schmeichel, how calm he is at the back, the ball at his feet, made a massive, massive difference and allowed us to play out of the press. 1, 2, 3. That beautiful pass from McGregor splits the defence. The blistering pace that we have up front, man. That front three of Maeda, Kuhn, and Kyogo, that is stupidly quick to break a high line that we'll see more of in our European games, hopefully, especially at Celtic Park. How quickly and easily we could damage teams that are going to play have a higher line against us. I mean, it was very touch and go whether it was offside. I mean, I've seen a few tweets in the last couple of days of not tampering. I don't see tampering with the picture, but the Hawkeye and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you could argue a case that he was onside, but I mean, what an example of what we could be doing to a lot of teams this season.
Oh, it's no surprise that Kasper Schmeichel, was he said when he joined that one of the things that he enjoys is playing out from the back. So it's no surprise that he has been a catalyst for our play at the back this year. We have looked at a completely different animal. Considering that the back four, the centre backs and the full backs are the same personnel as last season. But yeah, as much as we loved Joe Hart and he was absolutely phenomenal in the second half of last season in particular, Kasper Schmeichel is an upgrade. He is, because he can do that thing of playing the ball at his feet, and it's so crucial because every team in the modern day wants to play out from the back, starts from the goalkeeper, and he was crucial in that onside offside goal. And yes, I know what you mean about the tweets. I've seen the many about it, and the angle is the problem, I think, where again, is that the only camera they could use? If you actually look at the cut of the grass, you can actually see the different shades of green, and you can actually use that. And if we're going to be panicky about it, you can't score with your arm, of course. So it was his shoulder and his arm, I believe, that was offside, but his feet were definitely onside if you look at, say, the cut of the grass. So yeah, it's again, I'm not even surprised. I said in the stadium when it came up, even the goal was scored, actually, even though there was wild celebrations, there was a thought in my head that, well, this could be offside. But then you see the replay on the screen in the stadium and you see the ball across the goal. So right away, we're like, okay, that's definitely not offside. But of course, there was that wee thought in my head, well, the ball through initially, what are they going to say on that? So when it did come up on the screen, I wasn't surprised at all. But yeah, it was so satisfying though for the first goal, because Maeda, let's talk about Daizen Maeda and James Tavernier. Let's talk about this, because I find it absolutely bewildering, David, that a guy who clearly haunts James Tavernier, Daizen Maeda, how he was not, as we saw on the bus, acutely aware of his presence at that back post, how many goals now have we scored against Rangers in recent years where we've simply passed it across the goal and somebody has ran in at the back post because a Rangers fullback has gone to sleep? It seems to be one of our favourite moves, and you think the master tactician that Philip Clement gets hyped up to be, that maybe he would just have cordoned onto that one. But no, it gave me great satisfaction to see Maeda get that first goal, because I just love seeing Tavernier with egg on his face, man. I love to see him embarrassed, because he's a joke of a football player. I said at the end of the PMP on Sunday, I went, we need to give a shout out to the fact that he never transferred away from Rangers this summer, because that's huge for us, because he breeds the loser mentality through that team. He's still there, he's still their captain, and that I see their fans they've seriously turned against him now, as we saw the videos outside Ibrox. But yeah, it gave me great satisfaction, that first goal, to see him completely go to sleep there. And the irony of it is Daizen Maeda literally haunts this guy. So how he stood off him and gave him so much space, it's a mystery. But I thoroughly enjoyed that first goal, man.
Vegan, I mean, how important is Daizen Maeda to not only this team but to this specific fixture? I mean, he's become synonymous with the fixture because of the torrid times that he's given. Not only just Tavernier, but I think the whole back line. I mean, he's a complete enigma. I don't think anyone really knows what Daizen is going to do, but they know what he's capable of, and that's a worry. That's the worrying thing. We're talking about, Phil's mentioned, goes how time and time again Tavernier's been haunted by this specific player that he doesn't know what he's going to do, or he forgets that he's there. I don't think that even is the case. I just think that there's one thing, knowing what a player's going to do, it's whether he can stop it, and I just don't think he knows how to deal with them still to this day. And I don't think anybody knows how to deal with Daizen Maeda. Daizen doesn't even know how to deal with Daizen sometimes, because you get everything with Daizen. Like Terry had said it perfectly on the Postman's pitch. You're going to get absolutely the best pressing on the planet. You're going to get some unbelievable technical ability, blistering speed, and then you're just going to get an absolute horrendous shot of him every now and again. And it's just he's a jack in the box, and but he is such a thorn in this Rangers side. He's arguably more important to this fixture than Kyogo has been, despite the amount of goals that Kyogo scored against them.
I think that's spot on, David, because it's not just what Maeda brings in terms of scoring, it's in terms of pressing. I mean, I'll take you back to the two trips that we went to Ibrox. The one where Brendan Rodgers went there on the very first game, the first goal that Kyogo scores just before half time, that actually was made by Maeda pressing. You know, that's him pressing, and then we're in the ball, and then the ball goes through to Kyogo, and then Kyogo scores, and then the 3-3 match. That Rangers were big favourites for that match. I don't know if you guys remember. They were big favourites. People were saying that Rangers are at home, and then they scored that. Celtic scored after 10 seconds in the match, and then the whole place was spooked. You know what I mean? And what that I remember the goal that we scored after 10 seconds, David. That would have not happened if it wasn't for Maeda's pressing. You know, and it's just about, it's not about like he's the most great footballer, he can score a lot of goals, he can do a lot of great touches and that. It's about the amount of work rate he has. And see, like, every top team need to have these players because everybody in a certain team, they have a certain role. And I'm sure Brendan Rodgers has said to Maeda, we're not expecting you to get 30 plus goals. What we are expecting from you is to get the work rate and the intensity to be spot on. But one thing I want to touch on as well is about 10 minutes to go. I don't know if you remember, Phil, but Kyogo, he sprinted right back. Rangers were about to go 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and Kyogo sprinted right back and he tackled the Rangers player to put him off. Yep. And the stadium erupted at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pressing across the whole team and the way they're all working as a unit now is fantastic. You see it compared to them; they're completely, they're all over the place moments, so erratic. But us, man, we were playing Brendan even said that in the build-up. Somebody had asked him in the press conference, like, what do you think's been the difference so far? And again, he was just saying the way that we're pressing, the way we're defending as a team from the front. And you can see that. So you've got forwards tracking all the way back to cover and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been fantastic to watch so far. And yeah, Sunday was just like the tip of the iceberg, essentially, in this little section of games. Now we've got a wee break now, but yeah, it was great to see. And yeah, you're totally right with Regan about Kyogo tracking back. It was you don't see many forwards doing that, but he's got the energy and he's got the legs to do it. And I did brilliant, man.
But you've got a player like Daizen there though, who is an absolute pressing machine. I mean, he leads by example. Though I think we look like a completely different side when he's not in the team. I mean, there was no coincidence. I remember when there was a point where a lot of people didn't really maybe appreciate what Daizen was bringing because he wasn't scoring a lot of goals and he didn't look technically that good a player, and he just running a bit like a headless chicken at times. But I think with the coaching that he's now under Rodgers, he's like, and your ma has said it perfectly. Like, you know, he was erratic when he first came in, and his decision making wasn't great, but it's come on tenfold. And I imagine that's got a lot to do with the coaching under Brendan. I mean, Brendan clearly rates him very, very, very highly. At one point, I almost thought that when Brendan was coming in, Daizen might have been one of the first to go. If I'm being honest, but
I think he'll be the last one standing of all of the
Japanese
imports. I think
he seems to have really bought into living in the city as well. I mean, he's quite. He puts up quite a lot of his personal life on his Instagram. A lot of pictures of his kids in the park playing football, and obviously just out and about in Glasgow. He seems to love it. I mean, and it's quite surprising that at no point was he being linked away at all. And I mean, when you look back at his stats when he was playing in Japan that season before he signed him, he scored 23 goals. It was the top goal scorer in the same year that Kyogo was still there. I think we can now see more why Daizen maybe gets picked ahead of Kyogo for the Japanese national team, despite the amount of goals that obviously Kyogo has scored since coming here. And I do remember, I don't know if you mind this, Phil, but during the World Cup, I'm sure it was Rio Ferdinand had highlighted how impressed he was by Daizen Maeda, and that's coming from a defender's point of view. I mean, he made it pretty clear. He's like, that's not a player that I would be comfortable trying to defend against, and that's what I won against one of the best defenders in the Premier League history, saying that he looks like an absolute nightmare to deal with. I mean, I think that speaks volumes of what Daizen was capable of at the time, and now what he is certainly more capable of doing now. I mean, I've loved Maeda since day one, and I think he's went from a cult hero to just being like widely appreciated now through the majority of the fan base now, Regan.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant, David, and I just think that he's somebody that I can reference to a Brendan Rodgers comment when he said that Celtic's not the final destination for most players, but I think it might be for Daizen Maeda. You know, I just feel like he's, like you said, he's somebody that's brought into the city. He's somebody that he seems to really enjoy it, and he obviously sees the love and the appreciation that Celtic fans have got up for him. You know, because sometimes it's not all about. I mean, people talk about Celtic wanting players that I've got style and I've got what really good intensity. Sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about players that play for the Celtic top, and they want to be there, and they show when they're able to do it for so many years. And I think, like, I want to bring this up, Dave. I don't know if you're going to mention it, but I think it also brings into what I'm going to say about skills. I thought Skills was the man of the match. I thought he was absolutely brilliant again. And I know people on the bus and all, obviously over the time of slated him and too many made to upgrade and stuff like that. But I think he's been absolutely brilliant. I remember one of the games where it was him and Stephen Welsh when he stepped up last season as well. But I just want to give a shout out to him because people keep talking about, oh, it's not a great Rangers side, but I think Liam Scales has really shown that he's a really capable player.
Well, Phil, Chris Sutton suggests that 6 million, the 6 million ace could be stuck on the bench after his teammates Rangers' brilliance. Sutton believes that Scales produced maybe his strongest display in a Celtic shirt as Rodgers' team cruised past Philippe Clement's. Rangers, the 26-year-old Irishman, was given a rare run of games at the heart of Rodgers' backline after the departure of Carl Starfelt to Celtic Vigo in 2023. Few would have imagined at the time that Scales would still be one of the first names on the team sheet 12 months on, but having spent the last year proving his doubters wrong, Sutton feels that Trusty cannot expect to simply stroll into that left-sided centre-back spot. Nice wee segue from Regan there, Phil. But Sutton also believes what Regan was saying there, that it's not going to be as easy as Trusty just going, right, that's me here now. It's Trusty's shirt to win, and it's Scales' jersey to lose at the minute. And right now, despite what people may have been feeling towards Scales before the window's shut, that it might not be as simple as Scales taking a back seat now. And he'll have to lose the jersey out of poor form before we see Trusty take it from him, if he even manages to do that, Phil.
It's no coincidence that we sign a left-sided centre-back, a left-back and a midfielder, and three of the better performers on Sunday. I mean, they were all good on Sunday, let's be honest, but standout performances, Bernardo, Scales and Taylor. All guys, everyone said, well, Engels is coming in to replace Bernardo, or Trusty's coming in to replace Scales, Alex Value's coming in to replace Taylor. It's like, that's what you want. You want competition. So these guys are aware that, they know what's getting said. I know some of them have got social media presence. I don't think Liam Scales has got a social media presence. I'm not sure. We know Taylor does, but he does kind of keep his comments locked at times. But he'll be very much, aware of what's going on and what's getting said. And it's what you want as a football manager. These are the headaches that you want Brendan Rodgers to have. I don't buy into this ethos that we've got to keep this player happy. No, I want them to be unhappy. I want them to be fighting for their place. I don't want them to be comfortable. And Brendan Rodgers wanting to be comfortable. You want players to have that fear that if I don't perform, I'm going to lose my place in the team. And it keeps them on their toes, it keeps them sharp, and it keeps us winning. So I think Scales was fantastic. His passing again was still a bit erratic as his weak point. But first and foremost, he is a defender. And did he defend well? Yes, he did. There was a few instances that you can highlight. I remember there was one, it was a typical Rangers long ball, just a long punt up the park. And he was in a bit of a tussle with Dessers, just trying to get in front of him. And he just did everything he could to just get in front of him and get a toe on it. And he managed to do it successfully. It's one of those things that it could have gone very wrong and he could have brought him down and gave away a penalty. But he timed it absolutely perfectly. And it's like, he had a great game. I say, in terms of his core defending, he's great. I've drawn comparisons to Starfelt before, where Starfelt was a bit poor when he was allowed to dwell on the ball and pass it. That was when he was his weak point. But when it came to just defending, he did it pretty well. And I think Scales has got that in him. And yeah, it's good. It's good that he had a great performance there. And it gives Brendan the headaches that you want the manager to have. So yeah, it's all good. But it's quite coincidental that those players all come in, David, and all the players that play in these positions all put in a hell of a shift. So that's what you want. Glad to see it.
Yeah, well, Regan, I mean, Jock Stein said it, Celtic jerseys are not for second best. They don't shrink for inferior players. I mean, and I think it could have been a very easy thing to say that jersey just was too big for Liam Scales, but he's grown. He has grown in the shirt, and a big hand in that has definitely been Brendan Rodgers, who said he's one of the best projects he's pretty much worked with, essentially. And I think fair play to Liam Scales. He's had his critics. He will still have his critics, and rightfully so. Look, there'll be sometimes criticism doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. If it's constructive, his passing's not great, cool. He works on that, brilliant. If he can work on that next, because his defending, Regan, has been sublime. He'll stick his head where people won't put their feet.
Boy played devil's advocate here. If Scales was Spanish, would people be moaning?
That's a fair point.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point, mate. They probably wouldn't. I think because he's Irish, because of the league that he came from, the team that he was playing for on loan, people were quick to judge this boy because he hasn't got a sexy name.
I think but obviously Scales as well. You need to remember that be involved in these pressure games. It takes a lot. And see for like a manager like Brendan Rodgers, he threw him into a game where he played with Lager Bielka. We played at Ibrox and Lager Bielka. And Scales was the guy that kind of steered him through that game. I remember, I know Rangers fans are still complaining about it 2 years later, but Daizen scored and they were, and Lager Bielka slipped, and it probably should have been a goal. But I think Brendan Rodgers has now got that trust with Scales. That he's saying he's been through so many big matches, and I think it takes a lot to process someone's trust. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers is just willing to throw that away because somebody's going, well, you better put these two American guys together because these will be brilliant. I'm sorry, but he's got the credit in the bank now. And I think it's spot on what you said there, David. You know what I mean? I think it's not just a case of, right, well, he's been in for 6 million, so we're going to just throw him straight in. No, I think if Scales was Spanish, everybody would be saying he's brilliant.
Well, I mean, he's going to throw in a debate, which is great. He says it's no cause he's Irish. Nobody said KT at his best wasn't up to the level. We can all see that Greg Taylor and Scales deficiencies that yes, absolutely, they definitely do have deficiencies. But I think what Regan's getting at is we're quick to maybe our patience run a bit thinner with more of the homegrown players than necessarily the boys that we've imported from Spain, Portugal, Germany. I mean,
and the other thing as well, David, you need to remember is someone that Celtic supporters didn't really enamour. People on the bus as well. Was Starfelt. I was always a big admirer of Starfelt. This was a guy that went a season unbeaten. Franz Postecoglou, CCV, and they never lost a domestic match. People were saying, "Oh, well, he got beaten to Newcastle in his very first match." Well, see, to be honest, he was thrown into it. He's trained the day before. What are you expecting for the guy? And he only moved to Spain because he found someone that he felt was over in a different league and he wanted to join her. And now he's in the Spanish top flight scoring as well. So I think people can be judgmental and say, "Oh, Starfelt, he's no great, he's not good enough," and now he's in the Spanish league doing very well. So I think people can be very judgmental, but you need to also remember that these guys are doing us trebles, and I think Scales as well. That's a guy that really stepped up last season when people were saying in the media that Rangers were in pole position, but people like Scales and Taylor, that they've stepped up when it's needed, and and people talk about Tavernier and all these people. That's a guy that's only won I think it's 2 or 3 trophies in his full 10 seasons there. I think sometimes we possibly need a bit a reality check and go, see some of these players that we are saying are not good enough. They might actually done okay.
Quickly, Stephen A said, "Do people honestly believe that he left Celtic because of his missus? She moved to a different country."
That's right, Portugal. Yep.
And I moved to. And I mean, you'd have just seen a David Lowe bit of dust left. How quickly I chased her across the fucking.
The interesting stat, Regan. Liam Scales has now played against Rangers 6 times since the start of last season and hasn't lost a game yet against them.
That's
but look who he's playing against. Look who he's playing against.
That old caveat coming up again.
Against Joss like Dessers.
Unbelievable. They just change the goalposts all the time.
Do you think we'll actually look back now and go, by the way, see that some of that Rodgers team that actually played against the very first time? Some of those guys got to the European final. Alfredo Morelos, Tavernier, John Lindstrom, Ryan Jack, they all got to the European final.
Doesn't fit the narrative, freaking.
No, of course, it just changes from whatever they want it to be that day.
Doesn't fit that. But listen, we'll go quickly back to the Scales and Greg Taylor and their deficiencies for Europe. Yes, we have seen that, and look, you can't have it both ways. We've said before the window's shut, these guys need to be improved on. Now that they've had a good game against Rangers, that doesn't wipe that slate clean. You go, well, actually, no, we're fine. Good luck to Trusty getting in the team. we've just signed a £6 million defender, Phil, that's got Premier League experience, not great Premier League experience, but he's got it nonetheless. And obviously Championship level, international level, American. I expect that at that price tag, we should see parts of his game is arguably going to be an improvement on Scales'. I expect his defending to be at the same level at that price tag and the experience that he's came with. But if his passing proves to be better, his decision making proves to be better over time, he will find his way in the team. Same with the Barcelona boy. And I know we've only got him for a season so far. But if his decision making and his pace and his strength and his defending is on par, if not better than Taylor's, then he will gradually take Taylor's jersey. And I will have no issue with that either. We can't have it both ways. Phil.
I'd say good problems to have. I think we've got a game coming up against Falkirk in the Cup not long after this international break. I think that's probably going to be a game where we'll see a few of these guys get their first start. But I have a funny feeling that the current team the current 11 will probably keep their starting spots until about then, and that'll be the game that. But then again, the Champions League game falls before that, so that's going to be an interesting conundrum for Brendan Rodgers when that comes, because it'll be Slovan Bratislava at home, which I say we couldn't have asked for a better game to start on. But yeah, we've got Hearts first. So I think when we come back to the international break, I'd be quite surprised if Brendan shakes it up too much and throws in Engels and Trusty and whatnot. I think he'll still just slowly phase them in. But I think the Falkirk game is going to be a moment where I think that these guys are all going to probably get a start, because I think we can definitely get away with doing that. I don't think there's any risk in throwing them in for a game like that. But for the time being, it's all these guys' jerseys to lose. And again, as I say, competition, that's what you want in the squad. It will keep everybody sharp. And the way we're playing right now, yeah, I think it's just going to fuel this undefeated. We're undefeated at the moment. How long it can go? I saw a comment earlier on saying the I word, Invincibles. I don't know if I want to throw that out there yet, if we could do it again, but I think we could go pretty deep into the season before we lose a domestic game anyway. The way we're playing right now, and I say with the way the squad's got a bit of depth going, then it's obviously just going to be a good thing throughout the whole squad. And say these are the things you want Brendan Rodgers to be worrying about at night. You know, that's so it's all healthy and it's looking good. Now I think we need to bring up this one, because I've seen a comment come up which made me laugh earlier on. Butler fingers, obviously Mr. Butland. Terry made a great point on the PMP on Sunday about, we talked about the Maeda and Tavernier, the whole in his head thing. Kyogo is in Butland's head now. From where I sit in the stadium, I sit in the lower Jock Stein stand, and I have a perfect view down to that goal and the line that ball took. And this is a bit of a mad comparison. Maybe if you're at the stadium and you sit at that angle,
it was right next to me, Phil. I could see it again.
Many years ago, Sean Maloney scored a goal against Rangers from a similar distance, but his was up into the top corner. But he ran across from a similar angle, but he bent it up into the top corner. I could not believe when Kyogo went for that, and it just zipped along the ground, and it actually found the net. But when you see it again and real time, see the replay, even though you can say he passed into the net, David, he generated a decent amount of power on that. He caught Butland right out, and it just shows that Butland, that's 3 goals that he scored into Butland in the last year, where it's been no first time efforts all the time, but a shot where you weren't expecting it, like the one at Ibrox last year on the half volley, where he's just let it bounce in front of him and he's taken it on the edge of the area and it's beat Butland with a bounce in front of him. The one at the New Year from outside the area where he just pings it with his left foot, his weaker foot, zips up into the top corner, and then that one there, I said in the state, I couldn't believe it when he dashed. I was wondering what he was doing, but the zip he gets on it, incredible. I say he's got a very similar trajectory to Sean Maloney's, except his goes along the ground. Sean Maloney's up into the corner, but it's got the exact same path it followed. It's an insane goal, but absolutely what that was a mental moment in the stadium when that one found the net.
Is it something like he's only scored 4 goals from outside the box in his whole time at Celtic, and 3 of them have been up against Jack Butland? Something like that. Sure, somebody said that or read that somewhere.
I don't want to say, David, that the Celtic coaching staff are obviously thinking about that because I don't want. Hopefully Rangers. Hopefully Flick Lamont's not listening to a Tuesday ticket. Well, I hope he is.
all right, Philip, you're right.
You'd have you on, but I'm sure that's something that they speak about. I'm sure like, they must say, right, that this is where this guy's weak. Try and take your chances, you know, because everybody tries to get their biggest advantage. If you speak to any sportsman or sports person, they're always trying to get their wee advantages, and I'm sure that's something that Brendan Rodgers has looked at because he's very knowledgeable on these things.
Listen, let's quickly talk about because I need to be off by 8 o'clock tonight on the dot, so I want to get through
Okay,
a
no
couple more
worries.
things. But who caught TalkSport? Anyone catch Souness on TalkSport?
I didn't catch it live, but I caught it on YouTube just for a laugh.
Yeah. So I mean, the man got himself in such a knot talking about the gap and how far the gap is between Celtic and Rangers. But before that, they obviously focused on the Man United Liverpool derby because he obviously has his connections there, and obviously Man United Liverpool game is obviously going to be more focused on TalkSport before the Celtic Rangers game is. Soon as decided to read out the stats for the Celtic Rangers game to use as his evidence to suggest that the gulf isn't as big between Celtic and Rangers. However, the stats were also read out for the Liverpool Man United game. The stats for the Liverpool Man United game there was 8 shots to Man United for Man United to 11. There was 53% to Man United to 47. 3 shots on target, 3 shots on target. 5 off target, 7 off target. Liverpool won 3-0. Souness was quite happy to say how massive the gulf in quality between Liverpool and Man United were, despite having very similar stats. But when it came to the similar stats of Celtic and Rangers, the gulf's not that much of a difference. Stats are all great, Phil. We've always said it. Stats are great, but within context, like you've got to look at the context of, like, okay, Rangers had 12 shots and we had 13 shots. Yeah, but when you look at the shots that they had and the chances that they created to the chances that we created, to the level of intensity, the ability, everything that happened within the 90 minutes at Parkhead, the stats tell a completely different story. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have it that Liverpool's gulf is massive despite the close stats, but Celtic and Rangers, the gulf's not there. Phil, the man I think they need to take him off the air right now and just let him have a wee lie down.
There seems to be a running theme between a lot of people in the media who are connected with Rangers and even their manager as well, who, for some reason, him and Graham Souness seem to be good pals. They seem to do a lot of speaking events together. I wonder if Graham Souness is advising him in some way because, Clement also tried to justify that as well at the end of the game. I just feel like they're just peddling this stuff just to try and keep their fans on side. And when the next fixture rolls around against them, they can still say, but in the last game, this was the number of shots, and try to keep this illusion up that they're still really close to us. But I think even the most deluded and the most staunch of Rangers fan can see through that nonsense, and they can see that they were absolutely outclassed. The game is played on the field; it's not played on paper. You can justify it with how many stats you want, but at the end of the day, and it's the old adage, the only thing that matters is the scoreline. Celtic against Barcelona in 2012. Does that ring any bells, anybody? What was the possession that night? Every time the graphic does the rounds on Twitter, somebody's photoshopped it and it gets smaller and smaller every time. I think the official one was 27%, but I've seen people modify it and it says 11%. But see, then nobody cares about how the team got the win as long as they got the win, and they can justify what stats they want. But yeah, watching that game, anyone can see that it's a vast difference right now. Rangers have no identity They have nothing going on for them right now. Celtic seem to be going in the right direction. Clement is just throwing things against a wall, hoping it sticks, whether it's on the park or what he's saying in the press. I said on Sunday on the PMP, it feels like after every game we've played against them, he has descended further and further into madness. Ironically, when he got the job, I genuinely thought he would be like Van Bronckhorst. He would just be completely inoffensive and he just would get on with it. I was never bothered by Van Bronckhorst, but then Michael Beale came along and just did everything he could to just wind us up. But this guy, Clement, as I say, he's descending more and more into madness after every single bad result against us. And yeah, he's just finding any excuse. And there is no excuse. They were absolutely rank rotten. We were miles better than them. There is a massive gap there. There really is. And they need to just... But ironically, of course, they are the ones that do shout no surrender. So they're probably just governed by that moniker that they're just not going to give us any satisfaction. But you know what? Sometimes it's okay to just put your hands up, David, and just say we get beat by the better team. But they won't even give us that.
David, he's becoming more Pedro by the day. I think he said on Sunday. He said on Sunday, David, that don't forget Rangers had the most successful victory the week before against Ross County. This is what the genuine Rangers manager said at Celtic Park, that they beat Ross County by six last Saturday. You know what I mean? What motivation is that supposed to give the supporters? You know,
how far they might have fallen, if that's like, and I say that with a bit of a tongue in cheek, but I remember hearing a story about when a certain Barry Ferguson had left Rangers and went down south, and I think whatever team it was he joined, was it Blackpool?
Blackburn. He was a Blackburn.
Blackburn. They got a draw. They drew 1-1, and they went back in the dressing room and they were all celebrating like they'd won a game. And I remember somebody telling me that Barry Ferguson couldn't believe that they were celebrating a draw.
Yeah.
And now you've got the current Rangers manager celebrating a draw against us, a 3-3 draw against us that they needed to win. You have a Rangers manager that's getting them to go and celebrate with a handful of fans at Hampden for beating St Johnstone in the early stages of a cup. And now you've got a Rangers manager that's celebrating that they've got the highest goal scoring record of the season so far against the likes of Ross County, the minnows of Scottish football. I mean, wow. It's glorious. It's glorious. Like I said, I've got plenty of Rangers supporting clients. I've got Rangers supporting friends. One of my best mates, a Rangers supporter, and they cannot get their heads around the state of the club from top to bottom. Yeah. If that's the standards that are being set at Glasgow Rangers now, or Sevco, or whatever you want to call them, Celtic do need to get out of this league and find something else as a challenge, because if we are comparing ourselves, if that's the measuring stick that we have to compare ourselves to now, then God help us when it comes to European games, because we will not get any better in European competitions playing against the likes of that, if that is the standard that they're setting now for us as our biggest rivals in this league.
On the overgame.
David, even Alan McCoy's burst the Rangers bubble on Monday morning. He said that he believes now that if the COVID and the no crowds wouldn't have happened, he didn't think the Rangers would have won the title. He said that he feels that the no crowds help with the pressure.
Was that Alan McCoist that said that?
Yeah, he said that on TalkSport. He said that he believed that the only reason the Rangers dealt with the pressure was because there was no crowds in the stadium.
Madness. It's funny.
Well, I just hope on the subject of Graham Souness, I hope he was watching closely on Sunday when the Celtic captain, yes, that's right, Graham, the Celtic captain, unleashed fury from outside the box for the third time this season. So I'm going to put this question to you guys. Do you think Brendan's told him to shoot a lot more now on sight? Because one of the things about Callum McGregor over the years is I always find he tries to pass it too much. The ball falls to him in good areas, and I always feel like he's always looking for another pass. And most of the team are guilty, but I find McGregor does it a lot. But is it any coincidence that this season He's he scored 3 from outside the area now with that left foot, and of course the one on. I mean, you thought the one against Hibs was good. I mean, the line that I've got behind that goal, as soon as it left his foot, the bend on it up into that top corner was insane, and the noise and the eruption in the stadium, that's up there with like some of the best ones in that fixture. But yeah, what a moment! And I hope Graham Souness was watching closely when the Celtic captain did that. But it is good to see, David, that he is adapting that and shooting on sight, because that's the thing. You know, you have a shot from outside area, you don't know what's going to happen. It could bounce off a defender, it could hit a defender's hand, you could get a penalty, the keeper could fumble it. You just don't know. But I always feel like Celtic at times have been wasteful over the last few years. And that includes when Andrew's in charge. You know, we're always looking for an extra pass, and it's like, you know, you buy a ticket, you win the lottery, and that's what he's been doing. Callum McGregor this season so far, he's been doing it very, very well. Hitting the jackpot every time.
It's not been just willy-nilly though. Like, he's not just shooting, like you say, shoot on sight, but it's like he's shooting when the space is opened up for him, when it's like everybody, the whole stadium screaming, shoot. You know, it's not just a case that he's just getting the ball and shooting and it's going erratically up in the air, or it's hitting defenders, like it's getting nowhere near the goal, or even like Raskin's attempt on Sunday. Embarrassing that, by the way. He's, once he creates a space, which you know that Carl McGregor's great at doing, he's, like you said, he's pulling the trigger. He's pulling the trigger, Regan.
Yeah, he is, and I think he's got a few for goal this season already from himself. I think the sponsors will be tearing their hair out, thinking, can we find someone else to score a few belters? But I mean, he's got. I think he's actually. I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel as if ever since he said that he's not playing for Scotland, he's started to play a lot better. I don't know if it's like he just believes that he's got a lot more fitness in the tank now, or maybe it's like put a lot more pressure off him or something like that. But I just feel like he's totally became a totally different player. But something else I want to talk to you guys about is another midfielder, and it's one that we signed in the deadline day from Dundee, David. I mean, this is one that I thought would happen through the window. I said to you guys, I thought it would happen. But, I mean, that guy's reaction to going on, to being in the tunnel on Friday night, I thought it was brilliant. I'm just, no, David, I don't know about you guys, but I just think that's one guy that I want to do well at Celtic. That guy, I mean, it just seems like he's just loving it. I don't know if you guys seen it, but his dad is a season ticket holder, and he basically stood up when he came on the park. I just think that's a great story. And I read a story, David, that 3 years ago he was a lifeguard in a local gym, and now he's playing for Celtic. He's boyhood club. I just think that's a great story. You know, the fact that he was a lifeguard 3 years ago, and now he's putting on the green and white hoops. I think that's a brilliant story.
You can see how you're saying that his dad stood up, obviously, or his dad was at the game. Do you know that his mum and dad flew out to Turkey the night before he signed for Celtic? Because the guy that I know that works within Celtic and their social media told me that on the night he signed, and you see that video, that Luke McCowan obviously going out and, you know, absolutely delighted and smiling. One of the things he said in the back before like going out, he was talking to the staff members for like the social media and that, and who were putting all the videos and the pictures together. And he said, my mum and dad just flew to Turkey yesterday. My dad will be trying to get back as quickly as possible. You're absolutely delighted that I've signed for Celtic. So, he's obviously made it back for the game. But yeah, what a moment for Luke McCowan. And also, childhood friend of Greg Taylor's, as the pictures have been doing the rounds on social media. So yeah, him and Greg Taylor reunited. But I'm delighted for it. Initially, when Luke McCowan's name came up, I was still kind of like, I don't know, man. I mean, I was surprised to hear that he was in his mid-20s because, again, in my own ignorance, I don't pay that much attention to a lot of the teams outside of us and obviously Rangers who are chasing us most of the time. So I was like, 26? I don't know, man. But honestly, just that wee video of just him walking out there and standing on the sideline and just that smile, and it was like, I want this boy to do well. And he was great when he came on. He looked really tidy, composed. He didn't look fazed by the situation. So, yeah, I really hope Luke McCowan does really well for us, man. I'm delighted for him. But his parents had to rush back for Turkey in order to see him make his debut on Sunday.
You're right. It's a great story, right? We all love that. But he's there on merit. This isn't just a case. He's there on merit, and he wasn't given a raffle ticket to go and have a out you go and we'll let you play against Rangers since you're a boyhood fan. Like we know what he's capable of against a Rangers side. I mean, that 0-0 draw at Dundee, which is ironic that he was a lifeguard. So I don't know what they were all complaining about, because if it was too much water on the pitch, I mean, he was there to help them anyway. So they could have played, and they maybe should have played, and they might have won that game. But he's there on merit. That boy, like.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that he's a Celtic fan, and we're all buzzing about it that he's this childhood Celtic fan at 26 has finally signed for his boyhood club. But it's not a raffle ticket. He has been a standout in the league, and Celtic have won many, many, many titles with great Scottish players in their team, and this just might be another one, Regan.
David, I'm obviously a big watcher of Celtic, David, but I watch every game. I watch Ross County v Aberdeen the other night as well. I watch everything, and I think he's been one of the standouts this past few seasons for Dundee. You know, for a man like him to be their main player as well, and he's also somebody that took a lot of time to mature as well. So I think that story as well really will help him with Brendan Rodgers, because we said this before. Brendan Rodgers likes to work with players that he can see a potential with. I don't think that Brendan Rodgers would have brought him in and went, I will sign him because of this, because of that. I think the Celtic thing's a bonus. This guy's a player, you know.
Mm-hmm. And like you said here, Ali said here, obviously he was a captain at Dundee. I mean, another leader. There was a big, massive rant, a humongous rant on Sky Sports about the lack of leaders in that Rangers side. So Celtic have gone and signed another leader on the park that can only help throughout the season. And a big, obviously, quickly before we go, our record transfer signing of Arnie Engels obviously came on the pitch, Phil. Didn't have to, no pressure on him at this point.
Yep.
Just come on, enjoy the game, enjoy the experience, show the crowd what you've got. Nice wee tidy wee player. Nothing fancy that we saw in that game. I'm sure we will have plenty of great games to come with Arnie Engels, and I'm sure he will make a stake and a claim for the number 1 jersey in the middle of the park. But were you quite happy to see him make his debut in that current situation, and what did you think of his debut?
He was just very steady. There was no need to do anything risky or anything when he came on. We weren't chasing the game. It was a bit of a glorified exhibition by that point. If it was a boxing match, it would have been stopped long before that. But he came on. He looked tidy enough. Lots of energy there, and the future is bright for him. So it's going to be an exciting time. He's a record transfer for us now, and he's been playing at a very high standard. I mean, Bundesliga, you're talking probably the 3rd best league in the continent behind La Liga and the Premier League. Very high standard. Been playing against teams like Bayern Munich and Dortmund and whatnot. And he's also in the Belgium squad for these international games now. Whether he gets a cap or not, I don't know. But he's in that squad. He'll be training now with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and whatnot. So, he can maybe learn a thing or two off of them. That's not too bad. That standard of midfielder, isn't it? So, but yeah, the future friend to say if he's getting a cap, he's getting a call up for the Belgium squad while playing in Scotland, then yeah, it should be in and around those squads going forward. Dedrick Boyata was consistently in the Belgium squad when he was playing here, so there's no reason why not. Take note, Denmark manager. Obviously, Kasper's going to get called up anyway. But obviously we had the old debacle when Matt was here about not getting in because the standard of the league. But Belgium have got no problem doing it. So, but no, the future's bright for the boy, and I'm looking forward to seeing him more. Definitely.
Well, Regan, he's going to have some trouble getting into that starting 11 when you've got Bernard O'Reilly playing the way he was playing on Sunday. I mean, no disrespect to Matt, but we didn't miss him. We didn't miss him, and there was all this concern that Bernard O'Reilly. Sorry, that was terrible.
I thought you did that some sort of joke, but fine.
Bernard O'Reilly,
Right.
coin it. He stepped up. He stepped up. I mean, what a great performance. I mean, he was everywhere, winning everything, bullied them. Some of the passing, brilliant. Creativity as well. For the first goal, that the the goal that counted. I mean, that pass over the top to find Johnson. I'm sure that was Bernardo. When
Was
Johnson inverted running the inside to get the ball across, I'm sure that came from Bernardo. Brilliant, brilliant performance, and like if he keeps that up, wow, the competition is fierce. Fierce.
yeah. I mean, I always say this. I always say you're never going to be a Portuguese under 21 captain for no reason. He's a great player. I know people on the bus and people around said that he's a bench player and stuff like this, but he's a good player. And I'll tell you something. I know Peter Lawwell will not be happy that he spent £11 million. Well, he'll certainly be happy that he paid £3 million for Bernardo because he looked brilliant on Sunday, David. So no, I think Bernardo's going to go from strength to strength here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we'll call it a day there. We've just gone 3 minutes past 6. That's bang on the hour.
It's actually, yeah.
Obviously, we will continue to do these Tuesday tickets. We'll occasionally have some stories to tell from
No
the
more
media.
15th of August. I might tell you the date that something happens, but it might not be a transfer. It might be something else. But we can.
No, a lottery ticket, hopefully. Right. Well, I'll quickly, Phil, I managed to get my ticket for the Falkirk game. I've not been a Celtic
There
game
you
for
go,
months,
David. See you there.
so yeah, so I'll be there. I'm
Good.
taking along my Barber Cola, who's never been to a Celtic game before. She's not a Celtic fan, but she's been saying she's been wanting to get to a Celtic game, and I says, right,
tourist league.
I'm taking you. Aye, well, season ticket holders, take up your tickets, and I don't need to buy them.
Aye, well, I've got mine. I'm on the home
I've
cup
got mine
ticket
as well.
scheme. I don't have a choice in the matter. But there you go.
I'll see you. We'll see you there.
Aye,
see you there,
see
Regan.
you there, mate.
See you there,
Um,
David.
But I'm looking forward to that. So it'd be great to get back to Celtic Park. So I've not been for a while. So
Although it's a Sunday 3:00 kickoff. Boo.
Aye.
Rubbish.
Fucking
Rubbish. Hate them.
boo.
Hate
That's all
those.
right. It's not like we do the blether anymore on a Sunday. So
Well, that's true. We're now
that's
dignified Tuesday
Connor's,
bladder.
that's Connor's gig. He can
Exactly.
he can do it.
We're now dignified on a Tuesday night. That's where we are.
Well,
Exactly.
unless you talk to Ian Fraser, I was getting a telling off for last week.
You
for
kept
too
it
much-
clean this week. Ian will
too
be
much-
shouting at you now, mate.
Too much swearing apparently. But
Shocking, David.
Terrible.
anyway, have a good one, guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Okay.
See you
Cheers,
again.
folks. Catch you later.